boy. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stay down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's like, yeah, c'est la vie. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
For the love of God, can we ever have a start of a season in Cleveland where a member of our rotation, a quality piece of our rotation, is not entering unhealthy to begin the season? As you all know, as we all just found out, Max Strus has officially been ruled out for at least 6 weeks due to an ankle sprain that was sustained during a workout, along with the hip injury that he was already nursing. I would be down in the dumps. I truly would be, but I'm not. This could ultimately end up being a blessing in disguise. And that is not me wishing that Max Strus stays injured or that he's not playing or anything like that. But this will give us a real opportunity to evaluate some of the players on the roster that would previously possibly been out of the rotation. Namely, to me, Jaylon Tyson. It's fucking Jaylon Tyson time. Now, I'm not saying start Jaylon Tyson. I'm not going that far. I think you may want to toy around with the idea of starting Dean Wade, possibly looking into the idea of Karis LeVert entering the starting lineup, or, going back to Isaac Okoro, of all players out there. Whatever decision that Kenny Atkinson decides to find himself arriving at, there are a number of players that could start at the 3 for the time being for the Cavaliers. But all in all, again, this just opens the window for players that may not have initially began in the rotation. And there is nobody else that comes to the mind higher than that of Jaylon Tyson, a player that we all know has shown so much possibility throughout summer league, throughout the preseason and the training camp. There's just been so many different things that we have heard about Jaylon that have just really, really made me feel like sooner or later he was going to be included in the rotation. Now, maybe this leaves Kenny Atkinson with no other choice. That is really the only thing that I can say at this point in time. Like, I would be pissed off if we did not have somebody waiting in the wings right now and Max was just, he was out for the rest of the season or some shit like that. But I'm not, man. I'm gonna try and be calm. I hope the Cavaliers do too. I hope that they use this time to truly evaluate what they have on the roster and what they have in some of this young talent, right? And now it sucks. It truly does, because we have not gotten to see the full contingent of starters actually played more than, I think, 9 minutes. I think that was what I read earlier. The starters haven't played more than 9 minutes together this preseason. Max has been dealing with that hip injury for a couple of weeks now. And this ankle injury, it brings Ty Jerome to mind, because as we all know, Ty, he was looking like he was going to be a real impact performer for this Cavaliers team upon being signed, and you got to see him in preseason. Then he only goes on to play 2 games during the regular season, and he missed the entire rest of the year following ankle surgery. I don't think that's what the case is going to be for Max Strus, but I mean, you never really know. These ankle injuries, these soft tissue injuries, they could be tricky to really generate a timeline on that's accurate to follow. So we'll just have to monitor it, see how it goes. But it just sucks ass that we get another start to a season in Cleveland where somebody's dealing with something. It sucks. We've seen it with basically every member of our core four with dealing with some type of ailment, and then we've seen it trickle down to the rest of the rotation. Everybody has missed time at some point or another, but I'm not going to be too down in the dumps about this. I'm just hoping against all odds that it shows us something out of one of these young pieces that we have on the roster. Maybe we get to see JT Thor a little bit earlier. Maybe Luke Travers gets a chance to get some real minutes in a game. I don't know. Maybe the window opens back up for Craig Porter Jr. to actually re-enter the rotation because, prior to this occurring, I was of the mindset that Ty Jerome had completely won out that battle, but maybe some minutes have been freed up. Maybe this all but solidifies that Isaac Okoro is going to be part of the rotation. I see Amani Muse down here saying, Amani, I don't know whether or not we're going to see Amani this year, right? I do not know. I do not know whether or not we're going to see Amani. Kind of sucks that the timing of this, because this would have been a perfect opportunity for Amani to showcase the growth that he has been able to put down, right? The weight gain, that was great. But I didn't see enough out of him in Summer League to suggest that he had truly taken a next step in some of the areas that we need. But regardless, this would have possibly given him a chance to shut people up, right? Because I just posted something earlier, a video that I saw on YouTube, somebody saying that Amani has already, it's basically already failed when this is only his second season in the NBA, which is just crazy. But as some of you guys are suggested down here, the injury luck just sucks. HJ17 Gaming says, fuck the injury luck continues. Time to trade for Cam Johnson. I do believe that the Cavaliers are going to end up making some sort of consolidation trade by the deadline. I do believe that ends up happening. But I would advocate against making a move right now. I know you're probably half joking. Ben Yoder says, only ripple effect does it make our bench worse. Yeah, possibly, because you're going to have to bump somebody from the bench to the starting lineup, whether that's Wade, whether that's Okoro, whether that's Karras, Tyson. I don't know. I don't think they're going to pull Tyson into the starting unit, but yeah, you're going to take somebody off that bench, which will technically make it worse. But when you consider the fact that pre-injury, there were legitimately 12, at least 11 to 12 players that were deserving of minutes. And most of them occupied that same area, right? Whether that's 2 to the 3. So this does kind of open up a window for some guys. And again, to me, Tyson makes the most sense here to enter the rotation because of everything that he has shown he is capable of doing, whether that's rebounding, something that Max Strus is underrated at. The only real question that I have about Jaylon Tyson right now in regards to this all is volume 3-point shooting, right? That is the biggest area of impact for Max Strus. That is why he fits so damn well alongside Don and Darius, because he doesn't require the ball in his hands to be truly impactful. Even though the percentage was lackluster last year, still the threat of the 3-ball at high volume from Max, that's a big deal in terms of gravity generated. So yeah, that's a huge loss, but we move, right? We're going to be okay. I think we're going to be all right. We get to evaluate what we have in some of this talent on here. And then, as Ben also says down here, Dean looked fantastic as the starter last night. Wasn't he like 4-9 from 3? Yes. So I do believe in Dean Wade this year. I've continuously said that the problem with Dean Wade is often twofold: confidence, health. Confidence and health. Those are the two things that we have consistently seen plague Dean Wade. If Dean can stay confident, if Dean can stay upright, Dean can be a legitimate impact performer, whether that is off the bench or as a starter. And what we saw from him during that stretch without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland last year is that he can do this. And you don't even need to give him like a typical starter's load of minutes. You can give him somewhere around like 26 to 28 minutes and still get impactful minutes out of Dean Wade. And I think that's the best way to keep him healthy. And it was already leaning towards that way with some of these guys, where if Kenny Atkinson was going to run a deep rotation, say 10 or 11 players during the regular season, at least the early portion of it, that is a good way to keep guys healthy, because you're not putting as much of a load on their backs, right? You're not going to strain the starters super early into the season, and everybody is getting opportunities. You know who else this could benefit? Sam Merrill. This is a perfect opportunity to really, really dive deep into your rotation and continue to see what Sam Merrill can provide you. Because little known fact, and I said this during the playback stream last night during the game, Sam Merrill actually played 59% of his minutes at the small forward last year. I mean, that's an opportunity. That's a huge opportunity for guys on the bench. And I think that this can end up being a blessing in disguise, because you're really going to be able to evaluate and make some decisions on players' futures. I mean, i.e. Caris LeVert, right? He's in a contract year, and they may want to, prior to this even happening, they were going to be looking to, evaluate his future and whether or not they were going to move and capitalize on that expiring salary and, get some back, right? So I don't know. This will give them the opportunity to do that. If I was running the show, honestly, I probably lean towards starting Dean Wade at this point in time. I would, as much of an Isaac Okoro fan as I am, I would lean towards starting Dean Wade. And I get the argument you can make both ways with this, but I like the idea of the size that Dean Wade presents you, the volume shooting that Dean Wade can theoretically present you, and the defense. So I think that is where I would lean, and I would keep Okoro on the bench. Frankly, I just don't believe in his progress as a 3-point shooter enough yet to give him a starter's role alongside Evan, Jarrett, Don, and DG. I don't. I would lean heavily towards Dean Wade as the starter for now, right? And you try it out, you see what happens. If they need to readjust earlier on in the season, that's okay. That's fine. You can get different looks. You can go matchup dependent. You can just see what you got. And I think Kenny Atkinson is going to try a lot of different things prior to this happening. Hell, he was probably going to throw out a lot of funky lineups, but this gives him even more of an opportunity to evaluate some of the young talent that he has. So I'm not as down in the dumps as I probably would have been in years past with an injury this big. Because make no mistake, this is a pretty big injury. It's not something that is easily shaken or shrugged off. But what makes the blow a little bit softer is the fact that we do have some young talent on the roster that we're really looking forward to seeing what they can provide. And like I said, Jaylon Tyson is the number one name that jumps to the top of the charts for me in that regard. I also, like I said, I think this could benefit Sam Merrill. It could benefit Isaac Okoro. It could benefit Dean. Somebody who could actually benefit, believe it or not, Georges Niang, because I was of the mindset that George was no lock to be in the lineup, period. Right. And this is coming from somebody who's still a relatively big fan of Niang, considering the season that he had last year, because I mean, it was rough at points for George. But if they do end up bumping Wade into the starting lineup, the Cavaliers are still going to need somebody at that power forward position to soak up minutes. They just don't have a dearth of options there. So you probably look back Niang's way, and that will definitely give him the opportunity to kind of turn things around, because public perception of Niang is that he's just not that impactful if he is not knocking down shots. And we're talking about a dude that is he's damn near a career 40% shooter from 3-point distance. But last year, it was not the typical 3-point shooting that you got from him. And that's a dude that still shot 37.6% from 3-point distance on relatively good volume at 4.8 attempts per game. So I mean, you know what you get from George in that regard. You get volume 3-point shooting, regardless if he is starting or if he's coming off the bench. But the downside to that is the rebounding out of the floor and the defense, obviously. So you're going to end up sacrificing in certain lineups. But at the end of the day, again, this could potentially benefit some of the other players on the roster. I had a feeling that Max was going to miss some time, but I just did not believe it was going to be this long, right? We'll have to see what ends up happening. But I see a lot of people calling for Jaylon Tyson down here. Personally, I'm not leaning Jaylon Tyson's way as the starter just yet because I just have not seen enough from him as an off-ball shooter yet. I think he's going to get big minutes, as a lot of people down here suggest, but I don't think you can lean his way in the starting lineup just yet. He has to prove that he can be a very, very impactful player as an off-ball type of guy, an off-ball shooter, and he hasn't done that since his Texas Tech days. And even when he was there, although he graded pretty highly, he was not taking that shot with a ton of volume. It's just not there yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still think it opens up a huge role for him. I think it still gives him a ton of minutes. A lot of minutes have been freed up essentially, but I can't lean his way as a starter just yet because the most underrated portion of what Max was bringing to the table is the fact that he was such an off-ball shot maker. Just so many people down here thinking that Tyson is going to get big minutes, and I agree with that. I just I got to go with Wade. Our Lucky 82 says, man, leave the minivan in the garage. I think they're going to be forced to, they're going to be forced to unpark him if Dean Wade is moved into the starting lineup because you're going to need somebody at the backup four. And we don't have a lot of guys that can do that. JT Thor, remember, is still on that two-way contract. And there is a limit of 50 games, I believe, for two ways at the NBA level before they have to make a decision. And while 6 weeks is not going to be nearly enough time to halt that or to force them into a decision, I think they're going to try and play sparingly with that. And then, you got guys like Luke Travers. Jalen can suit up at the four. Isaac can play some small ball four. They can do some things here, but they don't really have a body out there that they can lean on and trust to soak up 15 to 18 minutes per game in that regard. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. But if there was anybody that stands to benefit from the Max Strus injury, and I hate to say that because that's just a shitty thing to say, benefiting from somebody else's injury, but it is a sad reality of things. It does not have to end up being a terrible thing, though. Like I said, this could end up being a blessing in disguise because they get to evaluate who they have on the roster, and this is going to help them make some decisions for the future. Will they move on from Karras at the trade deadline? Will they make a move? We'll have to see. But as Joe Durant says down here, going to be a team effort. Wholeheartedly agree. You cannot replace a Max Strus simply by slotting Dean Wade into the starting lineup because he just brings so much to the table. And even though Max had he's not been trending upward in terms of his actual efficiency from beyond the arc, as he shot 35.1% from 3-point distance last year, the 2.4 threes that he was making per game, there's not a lot of people on this Cavs roster that can play the three that will actually be able to replicate that, along with giving you double-digit points, along with giving you damn near 5 rebounds and 4 assists. It's a big loss. And Max was relatively healthy last year. He played 70 games. That's pretty high on the charts here. But I do believe that we have enough on the roster to make up for his loss. I'm just hoping that it does not. I'm hoping that this 6-week window here, the 6-week frame that we've been given, that it does not extend past that. I'm hoping that it's not one of those typical, we're going to reevaluate you in 6 weeks and make a decision upon whether or not you should get ankle surgery or some shit like that. I'm hoping that is not the case, but we have to acknowledge that is always a possibility with injuries like this. You never truly know. But that's about all I can say, man. I'm flabbergasted at it, but I'm not going to let myself get too down in the dumps because I truly do believe it's going to be a blessing in disguise. And I know I keep saying that, but that's just truly how I feel. But you guys let me know how you feel in the comments. I'd love to hear who you believe should be the starter for this 6-week window. I'd love to hear who you would have replacing Max in the rotation and how you would configure the bench at this point. Because I think based upon what we have heard from Kenny Atkinson, I think it was safe to assume that he was at the very least going to play 10 different players over the course of the season in a regular basis, meaning he was going to play a 10-man rotation at the very least and 11 at most. So with that being said, I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are on who you believe is now going to be in that rotation. Joe also says it's going to be a fun season regardless, man. Go Cavs. I agree. As a Cavs legend, AC would say, Austin Carr, I agree. Go Cavs. I'm okay, man. I'm okay, and I hope you guys are too. Don't let this knock you too far down in the dumps, because they truly do have enough to make up for this loss. I hope it's not something that carries on over into the middle portions of the season when the Cavaliers are going to be forced into making a decision around the trade deadline. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Try to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Cavs.